Coffee with Kay, where we're going to make sure the coffee is always served strong, but it's also going to come with a side of truth, and that's truth with a capital T. The truth of God, that is. I'm here to equip and encourage you, Saint. Yep, that's right, you. And if you're not familiar with the sainthood, I want to teach you what it is, and I want to invite you to the family. So, let's get right into it.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, my cycle hums, ready to race for you. Monday, happy, happy days. Tuesday, happy, happy days. Monday, happy, happy days. Tuesday, happy, happy days.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coffee with Kay, an ode to my 20s. So on this episode, I have a special guest. This is Meagan Duncan. So Meagan and I, we met online. We actually met through Threads. If you're not on Threads already, you definitely need to get on Threads. If you don't follow me on Threads, I know I've shared a couple times that you are missing out because I have a dream journal on Threads and I'm just kind of a little like unhinged on there. So if you just want to hear the inner thoughts of my mind, like Threads is the place to be. And it's an awesome place to connect. The algorithm is so awesome on Threads. It's so nice to you. Um, and so I put a shout out on Threads one day looking for people who wanted to be a guest on this podcast season, an ode to my 20s. If they had any stories about their 20s or if they're in their 20s like Meagan is, if you have a story about how like the Lord is bringing you through, just any type of story. And so she reached out and we connected. And I think you guys are really going to gain a lot of insight from Meagan's experience and her story that she's going to share with us. Even just the 30 minutes that I've gotten to talk to her and get to know her have been really inspiring and encouraging. Just some hot topics or hot phrases that are going to come up that I think will really pique your interest, such things as like surrender and contentedness and long paths or like confusion, but also peace. And so if any of those words resonate with you when it comes to following the path that God has set before you, I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. And I'm going to let Meagan take it away. So, Meagan, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
Good to
I'm so
meet you.
excited about this. Yeah,
I'm
when I
happy to
saw you
have
on
you.
Threads, I was like, we need to connect, like right now.
And I'm so
So,
glad you did. Yeah, I was just saying earlier how I've enjoyed like getting to get to know your Instagram and your Threads account since we've connected. And you have a really interesting business. And just what you've gotten to share with me about what you do and how you got there is really cool. It's quite the story. And how it threads in with this season of an ode to my 20s is if you guys have listened to, I think it's my first or second episode, which was like what plan. I feel like Megan's story really encapsulates that question of like, what do you talk like what plan, like why do we bother having a plan,
yeah,
and just how like we can resist what the Lord has for us and his good and perfect plan and will for us, or we can obediently and faithfully follow what he has planned out for us, and see the fruit that it has or the journey that it's going to take us on. And I think Megan has a story of like just very unique journey and very unique like fruit that came out of it. And so Meagan, I would love for you to share with us like your story about Sanctified Society, how you got there, and just like what the wild path that the Lord set you on to get
yeah,
there.
yeah. If it's okay, I'll share the whole thing again.
Okay, let's go for it. I'd love to hear
maybe
it.
maybe I'll shorten it like a little bit, just a little bit. But essentially, entrepreneurship was nowhere on my radar, like at all. I don't have entrepreneurs in my family. I didn't like have any real idea of what I wanted to do leaving high school and going into college, and I found myself in this like blessed but stressful position where I was like, I could do a lot of different things. Like I came out of school with like a 4.2 GPA, like that's what I graduated high school with.
Wow.
So I was like, I could get into college, I could go a trade route, like I could travel, I could like even within college, like I could go an education route, I could go an engineering route. Like there were different things that I found interesting, but I didn't have any passions to point me in a direction, you know what I mean? And I did pray about it, but at that point in my faith, like I didn't really have the connection with the Lord. He was very conceptual to me. And I wouldn't have told you that back then. Like, I did not think of him as conceptual back then, but I didn't actually have an experience with him that allowed for relationship at the time. So I would pray, and then I wouldn't stick around for an answer. Like, I'd be like, Lord, show me, and then just like look at the wide open road and hope that something popped up instead of meeting him in the secret place. You know what I mean? So anyways, I went to school. I marked my major as business. I was a little too prideful to just go undetermined. So I was like, well, at least I can make a lot of money, and then I could probably figure it out from there. Like, I was like, life skills or like financially lucrative opportunities. Like, those are my two paths because I don't have a passion right now. So I declared business. Within the first 2 semesters, figured out that like corporate America was not going to be the vibe. So I like sought the Lord, and the community at the school I went to and the growth in the Lord that I had was worth every dollar of the degree I am not using. Like, it was, I would pay double just to have the spiritual growth that I had in that place. So as I was like navigating school and life, I was also growing in the Lord a lot. And meeting people who had relationships with him, and meeting people who talked about him like a person and taught me how to read the Bible and like all these things that really mattered. So he would bring me into these like these seasons of surrender that always started with like discontentment. Like, I was just like, oh, I don't want to be in business. Like, I was working at a job on campus in their financial part of the institution because I had a finance major, and I was like, I cannot do this for 30 years. Like, I do not have the love for spreadsheets that these women have. And so I was like, this can't be it for me. I can't do it. So I sought the Lord, and he told me to teach, and I was like, cool, no questions asked. Again, like, still growing in my faith. So I was like, got it, be a teacher, elementary school, 3rd grade, like my mom, let's do it. And I called my mom, and she was like, please don't do it. Like, she was like,
she knew. Yeah, the inside scoop.
And I was like, too bad, Mom, the Lord told me to. So,
oh my word.
I switched majors. I went into the College of Education. I bounced around in there a little bit, between like dual certifying and like special education and all this stuff. I did fall in love with special education after working at a camp for adults with developmental disabilities, and I was like, this is my heart. Like, I actually have a passion now. Like, this is so exciting. But then this wave of discontentment. I don't like the bureaucracy. I don't want to be in this place for 30 years. I can't deal with the standards and like people telling me how to do my job that I don't even have a degree in yet. It was just like, I know. So I took it to the Lord, and I was like, Lord, this can't be it. Like, this love is like shifting. I don't want to be here. But you told me to teach. Like, what does that mean? Like, what do you want me to do? Went on a mission trip to Guatemala. Life-changing, beautiful. Got to experience the Lord's like healing come from my hands, which was new for me. Like, I was like, what happened?
Wow.
And so that brought this like spike in belief in the Lord, and that kind of came alongside this like, I don't want to do this. So I got back from the mission trip, and this other church in town was doing 21 days of prayer, and I remember asking the Lord, just like fully in his presence, one of the first times I think in that season that I like truly found that. And I was like, what do you want? Like, just anything. You want me to talk to somebody? You want me to do something? You want me to call my mom? You want me to like message an old friend? You want me to bake a cake? Like, whatever you want to do. I'll fix a car. Like, I don't care.
Oh my goodness.
What do you want me to do? I'll do anything for you. And he said, recreational therapy, like, change your major. And I was like, okay, reality struck. I am going into my senior year, and you want me to change my major?
Oh my word.
change like the school within the university, you know what I mean? Like, school of education, school business. I had to change
that.
And so I was like, okay, that's what you want to do. I don't get it, but all right. So I went to the head of that department, who had actually run the camp that I had gone to a couple semesters ago, and was like, is this even possible? Like, what? And he's like, you have to work summers. And like, I had already been trying to catch up, so I like basically never had a summer break in college, but that's not the point.
I can relate. Man.
He like did his administrative magic and like worked it in where I could walk with my friends and then do my internship the next thing and like technically not graduate late, which again, there was a little bit of pride in that because I wasn't willing to graduate late for the Lord, you know what I mean? So it was like things were changing. Anyways, crammed rec therapy into the last 3 semesters of school, fell in love with it, couldn't find my passion within it until I learned about adventure therapy, and I was like, this is so fun. Like, taking veterans on canoes to learn about like processing traumatic experiences and new skills and all that, like neuroplasticity. Yes, please. Like it was
That's
so
super cool.
And then got engaged, got married. Like still entrepreneurship, nowhere on my radar at all. I was thinking I was going to like just build up in this career path. And so I got on the state board right out of college. I worked with older adults and then with children. And I remember at the end of my internship, I got in trouble for laying on the ground to do my notes. And she was like, you just seem like you don't care. And I was like, I don't.
Oh.
I'm graduating with a degree and here's that feeling again that this isn't it. And she told me it was funny because she was not like in a faith at all, I don't think, at the time. And so she was like, there's a chaplain if you want to go talk to him.
Oh, you need to talk to somebody.
Go there. And like she was so sweet for like seeing that, knowing that was a value to me and like giving me that resource, you know what I mean? But it was also so funny because she was like, I don't know. And anyways, cried in his office. Just this like, I don't understand why I have this feeling, like this can't be it. I don't know what you want me to do. So I did pray about it again, but he didn't really tell me anything specific. So I graduated, got married, moved home, got a job working at a like level 6 facility for children and adolescents with severe and complex emotional and behavioral disorders. So these were the children that were coming out of sexual exploitation. They were coming out of the judicial system, gang situations, like really, really rough lives, abusive lives, and they were in this place so that they could receive what's called milieu treatment, which is like everything is supposed to be therapeutic. Brushing your teeth is supposed to be therapeutic. The situations you're in, like everything, they're taken completely out of their situation and basically rehabilitated on a holistic level. I was not working as a recreational therapist at that facility. They didn't have an opening. But I was like, if I go here, then I can get experience with the population. And I want you to hear my plan at work here, because I was like, if I get experience with the population, and then I can take that to a place where I can do more adventure type stuff with them, and I can actually work in my job, and that'll be so good. And also, it'll teach me how to love people who are in difficult situations and who are not ready to like give back that love. You know what I mean? Or like they're not in healthy places, and that could be really good for ministry and all this kind of stuff. So it made so much sense in my head, and I got there, and it was horrible. It was a horrible place, not because of the facility. The facility was actually really nice and ran well, but the darkness there was really hard. And the mix match of like my skill sets and my personality and what that role required of me. So I wasn't fit for it. That was March of 2020, so things were changing anyways within the facility, so there was a lot of confusion because of social distancing, but like they live there but we don't, and it was just this whole thing. And then the place, the children, because of what they'd been through, were often very aggressive. I was not ready for that. Like it was I felt like I needed to be like a therapist, but they, for their safety, needed like a prison warden out of my role. And so it was just very difficult. And that was the place in which I was like, Lord, I had panic attacks on the way to work, crying in the parking lot. Let me leave. Like, don't ask me to go in here today. And he'd be like, you're going in here today? Like, you wanted to do this. We're going to see it through. And I was just like, oh my God, okay. And then crying on the way home. And I worked opposite shift of my husband too. So like that was my new husband.
So you didn't get to see him.
Never saw each other kind of thing. Anyways, so still entrepreneurship. Not in my brain. So 2 months in, the Lord had been using me and a couple other of the staff to like actually minister to the kids, which was really cool and a little scary because I was like, I don't even know if I'm legally allowed to do this.
Right.
I'd have, like, get their permission. I'd be like, do you know Jesus? Do you want to talk about him? It's okay. Like, whatever. That kind of thing. But had a couple of kids like learn about forgiveness, like, which was huge for some of the things that they had been through. So the Lord finally like let me go. He was like, you can do this, like pass the baton, whatever. So I went home and it was this like season of rest that essentially came. I think I had experienced burnout at the end of college, and then this was like extra like extreme burnout, because I was like afraid to apply for jobs. I was afraid to like get back into the workforce. My husband was like, you need to not quit, like you'll never get up kind of thing. So like keep going was essentially like his encouragement. So I got another job at a similar facility, actually as a rec therapist, so it would have been completely different. And they had a module for workplace violence, and I like had a panic attack because I was like, I can't be back here yet. Like I cannot be back here yet. The previous one had been violent, like the kids against me. So like understanding that that's totally fair comes with the territory, but it was new to me. I was not expecting it, and I was not ready to go back to it. So I just like, I left. I was like, sorry, honey, like I'm not taking this job. I'm not taking any job. I'm going home, and I'm never getting out of bed. Like it's just like this season of like, how did I get here? What is the Lord doing? Like, why did he leave me here? I thought I was following him. Surely this can't be it. Looking back, it's all very purposeful. It's all, and he was never without me. Like he never left me. And I remember waking up one time and just being like, I need to get in the Word. I just need to get in the Word. And I opened it, and it was the psalm that says like, when will you get out of bed? Like you like look to the ants, that one. And I was just like, okay, Lord, I'm sorry. Let me go figure something out. So, and then also the kind of, I feel like people experience the fear of getting it wrong. Like, what if I do the wrong thing with my life and I get to heaven and the Lord's like, that's not what I had for you. You did not think that I asked you to, whatever. And I don't believe that there's necessarily, at this point in my life, I don't believe that there's necessarily like one thing that the Lord wants you to do that you can miss if you're truly following him. But I did at the time, and so I was very confused and scared. And scrolling TikTok as a way to kind of escape the like, I am an extrovert with no one to talk to because I'm home alone because my career has failed before it started. Like, kind of thing. And so I was just scrolling, and the Lord threw something up on my For You page about social media management and was like, just this girl, and she said, did you know you can make $30 an hour managing social medias? Let me show you how. And then she kind of gave some points, and I was like, this is very interesting. So I started doing some research, took her master class, and I talked to my husband, and I was like, I think I want to do this. Like, it is not at all what I thought I was going to do, but I think I want to do this. At least so that until I can like get through some of this burnout, get my feet back under me, find a passion again, like then I might rejoin the workforce. But I need to make money. I need to like get up and move and like work. So I reached out to my wedding photographer and said, do you need any help? Like, do you want to do a switch? She was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I'll do a little mini brand shoot for you so you have some good photos, and then you can like run my Instagram account for a month, which is great because I'm gonna be traveling. And I was like, amazing, let's do it. So I started figuring it out, and then a friend of mine, a very new friend at the time, I think I'd known her like a couple of weeks. She's now my sister-in-law, which is so fun. But she said, like, my parents are real estate agents and like a real estate broker, like, or a loan originator, like, do you want to run their account? And it was the first time in my life in this season that I had like just been like, okay, sure. Like, I was not like a let's try it and figure it out kind of person. I was like, okay, let's put a plan together. Like, well, let's think through all the things. Even as a kid, I liked to make up the rules for the game and then not play the game. You know what I mean? Like, I just like the creativity of like naming the characters and like writing the backgrounds right, and then being like, okay, that was fun. I'm done. Let's do something else.
Right. Yeah. The fun part came in the planning and the scheduling and the XYZ. That's so funny.
So this was like the first time that I was like, all right, Lord, do what you want to do. Like, okay. And just, it was like this acted surrender. It started to work. I was like, okay. Like, he brought a couple clients from online. He brought a couple people from my real life. And I was figuring out systems and doing research and just kind of putting it together. And there was still an element of, like, resistance within me to working. And I think some of that was burnout. I think some of it also might have been, like a spiritual level kind of thing where I don't fully know I haven't fully processed it yet. So that's all I'll say. But there was this, like, it was not working perfectly, but it was working, and I really started to like it. And so that was growing, and then I was like, this entrepreneur thing's pretty cool. I think I want to work with other entrepreneurs. Like, let me go after business owners and offer them services. And so I started marketing to them, had to learn about marketing because I knew Instagram, but I didn't know like marketing sales. So as I learned about that, it was very clear that like some of the ways to do that were effective were for the Lord, and some of them were not. I remember sitting in one masterclass, and she said that emotion is a motivator to act. Specifically, we want people to buy, and one of the three of the biggest emotions to prompt people to buy are fear, pride, and greed. And she said it like so casually. I was just like, so this is how we're going to incite fear, pride, and greed in our people so that they are ready to buy. And it was like inciting FOMO, inciting like getting more for your money kind of thing. And she started using very common calls to actions that I would see online, and I'd be like, oh my God, is that why we're doing that? That's not okay. I was like, I can't do that.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I can't do that.
Wow.
So then it opened this question in my mind, like, is there a biblical way to do this? Is there a spirit-led way to do this? And what is it? So I went down that rabbit hole, and essentially I had kind of added coaching into my offer suite because there were people who wanted to hire social media managers but didn't have the capital to. So I was kind of teaching them how to build up their client base to a point where they could hand it off. And I really liked that. And then started seeking faith-based entrepreneurs to kind of teach them the faith-based ways to build up their stuff so they could hand it off later. And then I just stopped social media managing altogether, and I was full-blown coaching. And that kind of was full circle from this call to teach that he had put on college. And I was like, oh, maybe this is what you meant, right? Because now I've got the program planning from rec therapy, I've got the teaching skills from education, and I've got like the business mindset from the like 3 courses I took, whatever, it's fine. It was like close enough.
It's something.
Oh yeah, I was like, it all makes sense. It's all finally coming together. And then the Lord was like, except no. And so he like put this membership on my heart. And I was like, a membership? I don't really know. That's like, I don't know if you know this, Lord, but that's low ticket. And like, I'm really trying to make some real money here. I don't know if I'm going to do that. So he was like, just trust me. I had hired a coach at the time. That was an act of surrender. She was outside of what I could afford on a monthly basis. And I was just like, I don't think it's wise that I hire you as much as I want to. And then we actually prayed on the call, and the Lord like stirred in my spirit so much, and it was like, no, I have to do this. Like, it would be disobedient to not move forward with this, but I only have the money for the first payment. And she was like, it'll come. And sure enough, I got like a check for like half the cost of the full program from a loved one who was just like, here. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
They're like, it's for this thing, right? And here. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Like, it was so humbling.
Oh, wow.
I was not expecting that. But it taught me to trust the Lord. And he, I just recently heard someone say too that like, he'll do that when you're learning to trust him. And then once you do trust him, you have to walk it out. Like, he won't do those things as much anymore. And
Yeah.
I was like, I've seen that. We've seen that.
Yes, that makes sense.
It was like a huge, and he will still like miraculously do things as you like provide as you need them.
Right.
But I do think when he calls us into deeper levels of trust, it requires deeper levels of trust. So anyways, that happened. And then when I was working with her, she was like, if he's not telling you like to move now, learn your audience, stick with what you've got, build out your one-on-one, and then transition to that when he says. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I dove into that like a year and a half of building out this high ticket one-on-one coaching program. I built out an entire course. I had, what did I say? 10 people? I can't remember.
You had said like 10 to 12, yeah.
10 to 12 people, yeah, that I was like managing, and it was beautiful and it was wonderful, and I was like, Lord, we're gonna take this to the next level. We're gonna be that coach, like we're gonna move it. And he was like, you're shutting it down. And I was like, what? The thing that predated or like was the precedent to these giant shifts were surrender. Like he would, and it was sometimes it was this discontentment where I was like, something's not right. And even with coaching, like I was excited to build it, but it was kind of like I was intentionally blinding myself to the ways in which I didn't like it and the things I was discontent about it because I wanted the money that was up the thing. So I was just like, well, we'll just pretend we love it. We'll be that person. We'll put on the face and we'll climb it, and the Lord will bless it, and it'll be so good. And he was like, no. So, that one was harder to say yes to because I was a little bit more like white knuckling of the idea down the line, and what I thought I wanted to build. But then, I'm trying to remember the timeline now because I think it was, so 2 years ago, he said membership. Like, again, he brought it back and he was like, now is the time to go. Like, you're not high ticket anymore. Closing that down. You're starting this membership. $97 a month, like, no higher. And I was like, less than $100. You understand that, like, these people were paying me like $3,000 and $5,000 a piece, and you want me to like 100? And he was like, And I was like, okay, it's fine. He's gonna send in lots of people. It's a membership. It's really scalable. Like, this is gonna be great. 10 people to start was what we had, and it churned, but it did not grow for like 2 years. We still have like 7 active members. Like, it did not explode the way that I thought it was going to, and I was like,
Right.
Lord, what? So I thought in the beginning that it was going to be this like biblical sales and marketing coaching container, and then it was for about a year, and I loved it, but there was still this like discontentment, and it was kind of, I was calling it imposter syndrome, where I was like, I'm fully equipped and I just don't believe in myself. And then the Lord was like, no. Like, he was like, it's not imposter syndrome. You're being disobedient. I need you to like ask me what I want of you. And I was like, okay, what do you want of me? And so then this past winter, so like December-ish,
Okay.
I was in a membership and I was on the call. And if you had asked me before that call if my business was an idol, I would have said, no, are you kidding? I've been following the Lord. This was his idea. Like, I know better. This is not an idol. But I was sitting on the call, and another one of the entrepreneurs was talking about how she realized her business was an idol and what it felt like for her business to be an idol, and how she wanted her ideas over the Lord's ideas, and how she was like seeking the Lord for what to do in her business and asking for clients, but not really seeking him for him, and not really seeking him for like how to serve the world apart from business space.
Yeah.
And I was just like, tick, 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 checking all the boxes. Oh, conviction. Oh, conviction. And it was my turn to talk, and they were like, so what are you experiencing? Like, what do you want to share about? And I was like, I think my business is an idol, and I need to get off this call and go repent.
That's very humbling.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
And it was like my eyes open and I could see it all, and I was like, this is not good. So I got off the call and I laid on my floor and I was just like, Lord, I'm sorry. I have been idolizing money, and I have been idolizing this work, and I have been seeking you only for this. And I've been treating you like your only job in my life is to bless this business financially, to bless this business with attention, like not even for your glory, but for mine. So I was like, I'm so sorry. And it was just true, like, it was interesting to experience it in that way, because I grew up as a believer, and I was led through prayers and like given examples of what repentance sounds like, and like said them,
Right.
but it was all surface level. And then this journey, it like is getting deeper and more experiential and deeper and more experiential. So anyways, came out of that, and the Lord took the title of coach off of me, and he was like, you're not a coach anymore. Actually,
Can we pause really fast? I have to wipe my nose really fast. I'm so sorry. I like chugged allergy medicine before this because my allergies have been going insane today. It's like, this is not the day.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally okay. Okay, unpause. He took coaching off the menu
took it right off
completely.
Yep. He said, you're not a coach anymore. He basically gave me understanding that he was the coach of the space, that the purpose of Sanctified Society was for entrepreneurs to seek him and then come together collaboratively to lift each other up in prayer, to hold each other accountable, and to process what he was showing them. And that was it. And my job was to hold the space and to pray, like to steward the spiritual atmosphere. And that was it. And I felt such a relief that I was not expecting. It was like he humbled me in that moment of like recognizing the idolatry and the true repentance, and then from that humility, like I had no problem. All of the stuff that I had been like purposely blinding myself to that I didn't like about coaching was what got taken away. And then I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. Like, this fits so much better. Like, it was like It was like when you wear jeans that you really can only stand up in to like a sit down dinner. You know,
Yeah.
like, you go to, like an Italian restaurant. You're like, oh, like they're cute and they look great and this is a good idea. And then you're miserable like all night long.
Yeah.
That was coaching for me. And then he switched to membership and it was like the coziest sweatpants I'd ever put on my body. And I was like, this fits. I was like, this is so good. And all of the pressure to lead people well, to have the wisdom to like tell them what to do in their businesses, and then the discipline to follow up with them, like that was hard for me as a coach, and I did not do it well all the time. And as just leading the space, that's his job. My job is to just say like, did you take that to the Lord? Do you want to pray about it together? Like, let me pray and ask the Lord to reveal wisdom and to bless you. You know what I mean? And to just like convict you and to bring these things. And it's been so good. It's been so good. So that's what it is now, essentially. And the Lord is still doing things with it. And I'm still figuring out what he wants next. Because right now, for the last, year or so, we've had 7 to 10 people. We meet like regularly, weekly for co-working calls, which actually is still happening right now. When this is being recorded, they're like working on my other tab. And then Monday for prayer calls, but that's open to everybody. And then we have like a workshop every month, and a community call every month where they like get to bring their champions, like what's going well, what they want celebrated, what they're excited about, and then their challenges, like what are they currently working through, what's difficult, like what is coming up, and personal or real life or business, because they're just too intertwined to separate.
Right.
Those are the calls where it's like, okay, what are your champions, what are your challenges, what do you want feedback on, and let's pray about it. Like, and that's all. Like, it's so
That's
good.
really cool.
It's so fruitful, like, because it's the Lord. Like, because I am not the person in the room that everybody's looking for. It is so fruitful. And it's, like, so good. And it has kind of taken all of that, like, I don't know what to do with my life feeling away. Because it's not because I found the thing that I'm supposed to do with my life. It's because I found a security in Christ. Where like this could change. He could turn this off. You know what I mean? He could be like, I don't need that anymore. And I'd be like, okay, what's next? And he's changed it so many times. He's like ripped the rug out from under me so many times. I'm not even looking for the rug anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? And it's fun. Like, it's really, and I remember in college thinking that like I wanted a really wild and adventurous life. Like I wanted it to be like story worthy. You know what I mean? And so I thought that meant traveling to India, and I thought that meant like doing really impressive things and being on state boards and inventing something. I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna be important somehow, and it's gonna be this cool adventurous life, and really care if I'm important in the world. But that sense of adventure is coming from this lived obedience. You know what I mean? Because I'm like,
That's a word. Yeah.
Because I don't know what he's doing next. And it can be hard. It can be really hard to figure it out.
Yes.
Like, he's building out another level of sanctified society, and I've been seeking him for months to just tell me what it is, kind of thing. But his processes are so long sometimes.
Yeah.
So that one's still like an open part. We'll see what that one is. I don't really know yet.
So I just love that because I definitely can relate to the journey. Sorry, I'm multi-man here, running tech, trying to keep the light on, trying to keep the mics on.
Superwoman.
I was like, I need a team. I need to have one of my toddlers come out of school so they can just sit and click the button and just
train them.
Keep the light on.
Dude, I love it.
I love that because as I'm listening, I can so easily put myself in your place and just also like learn from your experience. I love how you explained like what it felt like to be in that surrender, kind of what the Lord, how he shut things down or how he pivoted you or like how it turned. And it's really sweet hearing too at the end of your story, like when you left recreational therapy and you were like in burnout mode, in bed, struggling, and now like even when he changes, like, but you're not in bed struggling and just scrolling on TikTok anymore. Like it looks completely different. And I definitely have had one of those moments where I like had to shut a business down and it felt like I felt like such a failure. And I think this year, that was almost 2 years, that was 2 years ago, I think. And so I think this year I really felt like the Lord has been trying to teach me a lot about humility. And I have been like not doing a good job at humility and unraveling like being somebody and like leading out like a meek and humble and quiet life, a simple life. Um, and just trying to gauge like, well, where does that come from? Because this is wild hearing somebody who's in my age group feeling like that they had that expectation of life too, where I want to be somebody, I want to do something cool, I want to do something important, like I want to do something spectacular. And that's also something like I've always felt that way. Like I just want to do something spectacular that the world will remember me by. And when like that's not the purpose of a Christian life. Like that's not what we're supposed to do. But that is such like a fleshly motivation that I just feel like so many people our age struggle with right now.
Yeah, it
Um,
can be, because I feel like you could tease it out. Like there is this, the part that wants the eyes on you for validation or for like a sense of importance or for a sense of power, or security, like that, those things come from the Lord. So putting that desire on something other than him, like that would be idolatry, that would be fleshly motivated, and that's not good. But the desire to be secure, the desire to be enthralled by something, desire to be used, that's not bad. You know what I
right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
we just funnel through the Lord, and that will give you some crazy stories. Like,
Yeah.
crazy stories in the best way. But that's something that he taught me about it too, was like the desire beneath the desire is from him. We just filtered it through the wrong thing,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so then he just like brings it back unto himself and filters it through himself, and then it's really, really good.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Just wanted to,
Absolutely.
because I was ashamed about it for a long time. Like, oh
Oh
my gosh, I
yeah.
think I'm this important. But it's like, no, I am this important to the Lord.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
he does want to give me cool stories, and like he does want to show off, but I have to do it his way. Like I can't do it my way.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. No, that's definitely been like a journey that I feel like I've been walking out these past months and just still trying to process and understand. And yeah, I just love to, I feel like when I'm online and I see just like Christians dialoguing, um, like I just think this episode's gonna be such a blessing because it just seems like it's so impossible to know like what does the Lord want for me. And so like you said, being in prayer, like and being convicted, I like appreciate that you've mentioned how many different ways you've been in community with other people because being in community and being like having accountability, it sounds like that's led you to like being convicted by different things when you hear other people's wisdom or like hear other people's testimonies. And that's so beautiful. And I feel like that's probably so hard in our age group, this day and age, because we are just like more prone to being isolated. And it's especially like in parenthood and motherhood, it's really easy to just be at home all day and not have like other adult interaction. And so that was going to be one of my questions of like, well, how can we seek out to know when we need to take those steps of surrender and obedience? And I was like, well, I think that answers that just from those many times you've mentioned how you've partaken with other community. I think that's like a huge way that we can gain insight. And then I was going to ask too, like, what do you think are some other helpful ways that have ministered to you in times where you've felt that like something's not right or like just unsettled or not having the peace and then like being able to be brought back under the veil with the Lord? Like, what are some scenarios or some ways that you put yourself back in communion with the Father?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it was definitely messy. Like, I don't think I was like, okay, let me go back to my 3-step plan. Like, it was like, as much as a planner as I was, like, the actual experience of it was very bumbly. So, like, let it be
Oh,
bumbly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
he's got you. I think what developed over time and made it easier to navigate was, like, how much more quickly I took it to him. Because it was so annoying. Sometimes, like, being brought up in the church can be very annoying as a believer because like I would know to do things and I would equate that with actually doing them, and then I wouldn't bear any fruit because I didn't actually do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if someone told me like, well, you need to like be in prayer about it, I'd be like, obviously, and like just like not take that as a real helpful answer, because in my brain that I was doing that, but I let actually doing that be weird. Like the first time I talked to the Lord out loud was so weird, but the more I did it, the more it was like easier and easier to like take things to him. And the first time that I like laid on my face on the floor and cried was so weird. Like I was just like there was a part of me in the back of my head like, do you look crazy? And I'm just like, that's fine. I look crazy. I'm desperate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then taking it to him like quickly and messily, like you don't have to understand it before you take it to him.
Right.
Another thing I heard a lot in the church growing up, you don't have to be perfect to go back to the Lord. That's what he's there for. You know, you don't get clean before you take a bath. Like go to the door, go Lord with exactly what you have. And I'd be like, yeah, got it. Okay, give me a real answer. Like,
yes.
And but I got desperate enough and I got confused enough and I got frustrated enough that I was just like, like take it. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, that's what my prayer sounded like, truthfully. And then just continuing to go back to him, and the more that he came through, and the more I got used to hearing his voice, and the more that the answers that I thought were probably him, but still could have been me, and might be some twisted attempt from the enemy, and I couldn't really tell. I acted on it. I was like, I'm 51% sure this is you, Lord. Stop me. And then he came through, and I was like, okay. So I just built familiarity with him, essentially, and routine with him, and then that made it easier to not brush off anything that he dropped on me. Like when he asked me, or when he told me to shut down my high ticket coaching, I remember sitting at the table, not doing anything spiritual. Like I was like watching a TV show or like journaling or something. I can't remember. And I had been asking him like, what do you want me to do? Like, what is this? Just like, I don't want to talk. But he just like shut it down. And I was like, whoa, what?
Where did
like,
this come from?
Yeah, I was like, surely you don't mean my main income provider. Like, surely. But he recognized the idolatry before I ever did. And he recognized the love for money before I ever did. And so he was challenging me in that and taking me in a path of his choosing.
Wow.
And that's the other thing. It's a path of his choosing. Like, that, it's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah.
So getting familiar with him, like his sheep knowing his voice, then you get to go on your own unique journey. And you don't have to be, like, thrown off because somebody had a slightly different experience in the same issue that you're having.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we are trying to get pregnant and have been for almost 3 years. And so people have lots of different advice on how to get pregnant and what to do. And some of it is worth following and some of it isn't. Not because it's like medically great or not medically great, but it just might not be for me. And I don't know all the time yet. So we're just seeking the Lord and being like, do we need to work on health stuff? Is it a spiritual thing? Like, is it just a timing thing and it's just not time yet? Like, everything's set and ready to go and you just haven't pressed the green button? Like, what is it? And seeking him and just letting him truly be active and alive and leading. And that has been the biggest difference, is like recognizing where he's still conceptual and letting him be real and active and experiential. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then he'll kind of do the rest.
Yeah, he sure will.
He'll tell you what to do if he wants you to do something, but he will do the rest. It's just getting the barriers out of the way and going to him. If it's feeling ridiculous, then okay, it's worth it.
Yeah. Man, I love that, Megan. I feel like that is such a, like, I was excited to have you on today and just see like where this conversation was going to go and just like get to learn more about you and your story. And like, you just really, I think you just gave such a word. One, to me personally, I'm like, yes, I know what I'm doing when I get off this call. I'm sorry. And two, just because that, I feel like that struggle feels so relatable, especially like the closer you get to your late 20s and even like coming out of college, just in so many ways. And it's just so hard. I feel like that's my biggest question for when I get to go to heaven, of like, so can you please explain your will and like our free will kind of thing? Because I feel like you made that really complicated. But I feel like you kind of just broke it down really easily with your experience of just how we can be in alignment with the Lord's will and like uncomplicate it. But it's scary, and it's like, you give up all control. And I think sometimes too, it's, things to grieve or things to mourn, when your life doesn't unravel like you anticipated or you hoped it would, or even if the Lord gave you a word or gave you a prophecy or gave you a dream, and it's like been years since you've seen it come to fruition, and just like continuing on in hope, and not letting our hope become deferred, and like
Yeah.
not letting our heart become sick with grief or angst or worry. Yeah, I just feel like if that doesn't encapsulate my 20s, then I don't know what else could. And that just is so encouraging to be able to, like, again, have other people's stories and other people's testimonies that we can like learn from and gain from. And like, if you are in your 20s or past your 20s, that if you have a similar experience, like, you don't have to have it keep going that way. Like, you can stop and pivot and like turn back to the Lord, and it's never too late, whether it's for passions and goals and dreams and careers, or just something even more basic. And so I love what you have to share today. I think it was so beautiful, and I love how you're running your business and like encouraging other believers to seek the Lord in all that they do. And it's just so unique. I've never heard of that before. So I love that.
Thank you for letting me yap.
Yo,
Um,
it's my
it's
pleasure.
such a fun connection. I do like looking back. I do really love the story that he's had me on. It's a long one, so thank you for bearing with me. like
Absolutely.
I like don't know how to start, and it was so funny because people are like, "What do you do for work?" And I'm like, "Do you have 20 minutes?" like,
Yeah, for real,
I
because
don't
you
have an
have to hear
elevator
the
pitch.
background.
It's better. But the only other thing I really wanted to say that was like a big changer in my ability to hear from him, to feel safe obeying him, to like deal with the grief of unmet expectations or like things going totally different, whatever, it was just to read scripture as a way of like trying to learn who he was, kind of thing. Especially somebody who grew up in church.
Yeah.
I was like, of course I believe the Lord's promises for me. And then this one time I just remember thinking like, but what are they? like I was like,
Tell me about
do I
it.
even know? Like, I claim to
Yeah.
believe it, but like, do I even know? And it's really easy when you're in a desperate place and you have the context to go to the word, to read the word for the answer you're looking for. And that's not bad. That's not bad. But I think reading the word for like who the Lord is will get you the answer faster than trying to dissect the scripture for your specific kind of thing, because we have the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
go read the word for who the Lord is and what he was doing and how he moves, because he doesn't change. And then you ask the Holy Spirit for understanding as to how it applies to the thing you're asking about and seeking about, and then he shows you and you're like, okay, cool, that makes sense. But when I was reading it as like either a way to gain favor with the Lord, like, oh, I better get in my word so that he answers my prayer kind of thing, or as like a way to figure it out for myself, it just never really did much.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating, because then I was like, well, does it not work? like, kind of thing. I was like, no, it works. I was just doing it wrong.
There we go. Well, man, thank you for coming on today, Megan. And if you guys want to follow up with Megan, she's on Instagram. You can find her on Threads too. I'm going to have her links in the show notes so you guys can find her, because I think you'll definitely be really blessed by what she has to offer and what she has to share. So I hope this is a really like blessing of an episode to y'all who are listening. And Megan, I just want to say thank you so much for reaching out to me and like making time and space to come speak.
By gray sky, hello blue. There's nothing can hold me. There's nothing can hold me. By gray sky, hello blue. There's nothing can hold me when I hold you. By gray sky, hello blue.